Richard Dick Masterson was born on March 27, 1902 in Wayne County. He was a son of Hardy and Mahala Higginson Masterson. Dick had a half-brother, John Masterson, and a half-sister, Mary Masterson Huff. They were Mahala's children from her previous marriage to Hardy's brother, Joseph. After Joseph died, she married Hardy. His other siblings were Minnie Vaughn, Flossie Lose, Edward Masterson, Emma Spurgeon, and Ella Kirby. Hazel Rebecca Utterback was born January 31, 1903 in Clay County to Reverend Harry Batson and Laura Jane Redmond Utterback. Hazel had 4 half-brothers, William, Oral, Eldo, and Archie, from her father's first marriage to Ida Bell Cook. After she died, he married Laura Jane Redmond. Hazel's half-sister, Fanny, was Laura's daughter that she had prior to her marriage to Harry. Her other siblings were Esther Laughlin, Helen Nelson, Theodore Pete Utterback, Bob, Joe, and Alvin Ray. Dick and Hazel were married on November 27, 1920 at Hazel's mom and dad's house in Wayne County. They were married by Hazel's dad, Reverend Harry Utterback. Witnesses were Dick and Hazel were Dick's sister Flossie Masterson and Hazel's brother Theodore Utterback. Dick farmed all his life. He only went to grade school for a few years. Uncle Ed told me their dad had him to quit school to go to work. Dick and Hazel were blessed with 11 children, 6 sons and 5 daughters. Mary Irene, Ray Cleland, Ida Bell, Louis Eugene, Wilfred Aaron, Anita Fay, Audrey Lucille, Richard Bruce, Edith Jane, Danny Wade, and John Batson. Hazel, known as Grandma, was a homemaker and raised a large family. She didn't have any fancy household conveniences. She also planted and tended a large garden while raising 11 children. But from what I have learned, she never complained. Grandma Hazel and Grandpa Dick attended the East Antioch Missionary Baptist Church in rural Burnt Prairie. You can see the church as the crow flies across a field west of the old house. Grandma was a member, but Grandpa wasn't. Uncle Dan said they were both attended church, but only Grandma stayed for Sunday school. He also said that he always remembered that in Grandpa's funeral eulogy that Brother Mayberry knew from the conversations with Grandpa that he was a saved man.
I have lots of memories, some good, lots of them bad. We always went to Antioch Missionary Church. Mom had a loud, clear voice and you could always hear her singing. She could pray the prettiest prayers you ever heard. Dad sat on the second seat behind the stove in the men's section. He led the singing with his hand keeping perfect time. I don't remember hearing him sing. They were beautiful, sweet parents. We spent lots of happy times together. They worked so hard and had so little of the world's goods. In later life, they had a new car and went places and seemed to have a good time. They liked the fairs, and Dad liked to bet on the horses. Mom and Dad were sure good to me. Mom and Dad helped me pick peaches and get corn ready for the freezer. I don't think ever loved her husband more than Mom did Dad. After Dad left, Mom was at our house a lot. One day she asked if I remembered the little yellow dress she made for me. I told her I sure did and felt so pretty that Easter morning. I must have been 7 or 8. That had to be 40 years before. She crocheted me a curtain for our upstairs window. One day we were upstairs and I told her how much I loved and would always cherish it. She said she was afraid I wouldn't like it. After she died, I washed the curtain and it just came to pieces in my hand. I wept bitter tears.
Nearly every Sunday, she cooked a big dinner for us hungry kids and our families. We had lots of sweet talks. One day, I was washing the dishes and I asked her if she remembered them. They were oatmeal patterned dessert dishes. She said, I sure do. I thought they were so pretty. Then she said they look like you. How I love those dishes.
I had Christmas supper at my house after Dad died. Mom was helping. I had lots of desserts and homemade candy. I told her she could have one piece of each. She called me a stingy goat. It was so funny, but it was not funny to her. She sure could get hot under the collar. Of course, she wasn't supposed to have sweets.
I remember Wilfred running off and hiding, and we had to hunt him. He said in later years he felt so important, everyone looking for him. Ida and I sure spanked his you-know-what one time when we found him.
Gene had a little dog that followed him around, and he was always singing. Later we called him Windy Bill because he was always telling some tale. We sure was glad when he came to see us.
Mom and Dad would go to Burnt Prairie on Saturday in the wagon, stop at Grandma's for dinner, and just stay all day.
Ray was to get up wood, some big job for children so little. I tell you, I knocked and banged up those kids if they tracked up those floors. I even fixed something for Sunday dinner in the summer times, things in the garden brought in for the Sunday dinner.
Dick was about 2 years when I was married. I thought he was a living doll. Dan, then Bill, and John came along and were at our house a lot until we lost Bill. Things were never the same after that. I had a whole new life. Then Joe died. Once again, my life has changed completely.
I first saw Joe when I was 15. Love at first sight. He was playing ball, no shirt, and needed a shave. When he walked by the car I was in, looked up and grinned, I was never the same anymore. We fought, loved, and played hard. We were married. I was married at 17 years.
Memories before school age are blurred, but attended Mars Hill Grade School, Burnt Prairie, and Fairfield High School. Church attendance played an important part of family life. About the age of 12, I accepted Christ as Savior, was baptized in the backwater below Johnson School, and became a member of Antioch Baptist Church. Can't remember the date, but the experience and place are still strong in my mind today in 1987. Paying jobs for girls in the country were very limited, but worked for Wilma Vaughn in her restaurant in Burnt Prairie. Also, some live-in housework. $1 a day seems like big money. Stacy Lynn, October 6, 1970. Hazel Masterson lived long enough to hold her great-granddaughter before she died in May of 1971. Kenny Joe, born August 21, 1950. Kenny, as he was always called, died during his first year of school at Centerville. He broke his leg and collarbone at about 4 years of age. Being the only one home for 2 years, we did many chores and fun things. We were alone when the portable gas tank fell on him. I've always believed God provided the strength to lift it and pull the leg to safety. The only good part of dying young, you leave only happy memories. I am very glad they raised us to be honest, work for a living, and believe in God. I can remember Mom talking about a near train wreck that happened one time when they were not attending church, and her promising God if she was able she would start going again, but that must have happened before I could really remember. Everyone knew how Mom would not swallow a pill, always mashed it, put it in jelly or ice cream. One time Dad made her take what she thought was Epsom salts, a bitter laxative that Dad took fairly often. Mom spit and sputtered, but she drank the mixture, which in reality was black coffee. She always put about half sugar and cream, so was no wonder she didn't know the difference. Mom liked to sing loud, talk, and yell the same way. There was never any used to tell her we didn't hear her because she knew we did. Dad always said if a man's word and a handshake was not any good, his name on a paper didn't amount to much either. I peeped one time during a revival meeting when the preacher asked for the Christians to hold up their hands, and Dad's was up. I asked him once why he didn't join the church, since he paid and attended and helped with the work around the church, but he didn't think he was good enough. I wonder now how Mom ever kept going through the childbearing years. No gas stoves, no electricity, no running water. I remember our first gas washing machine. Mom must have stayed on her feet working when she was about to drop. I wish now I could say I helped as much as I could, but as a teenager, we don't think of that. The condition of Edith, caused by brain damage when she had whooping cough, was a tragedy that was very hard on us all, but maybe taught us compassion for others. I do remember the time Dick drank tea or coffee colored liquid from a whiskey bottle when some neighbor boys were visiting. He pulled a gun and made them think he was drunk. I guess they even left through the windows. That was in that kitchen. The boys used to shoot the wattles off of the rooster's head. If there was a bad shot, the rooster landed up on a brush pile. Us girls played a lot of pretend like houses, boyfriends, husbands, and children. Even at our ages, I guess we all liked to climb trees, rode them down, and swung through the air.
Well, when I was a kid, we had sheep, and we had a few cows we milked, and some hogs, and all the chores that went along with them. That's what we done.
Like I say, the worst chore I can remember is when you're supposed to get the clean cobs in for the fire the next morning, and you forget. Old Dick opens the door and says, "Come on down, because you got to fill up the corn cob, and don't bring in no wet soaked ones. You have to go out early in the morning," and I forgot very seldom. Very seldom.
Me and Audrey had milk the cow. We done all the milking, and once in a while Dan go get them. You had to put his butt first, but he'd go get them. And we had a little Jersey cow, and he jumped on her and ride her back home, and she got her rust on his back. And yeah, he had to haul wood. Shoot, I can't remember. We didn't sit on our butt very much. Oh, we didn't sit on our butt very much. Mom wouldn't let us, and Dad definitely wouldn't let us. But if he was somewhere and she said, "Well, your dad gets home, we got business."
I was the last one. We about through milking cows. When I come along, I had to milk a cow, but not for. We didn't milk the cow just for milk, so we didn't spend a lot of time milking. Mom took care of the chickens pretty well, so we took care of the hogs and cattle, but we didn't work in the garden very much. We just mostly farmed. I guess Mom took care of the garden. I don't remember.
We had a big garden just right behind the house, and we helped in that some, but Mom took care of most of it because she wanted to. She done all the planting, and that was because that she wanted to do it, thought she could do it better than the rest of us, and so we raised a big garden, and we had a big tater patch that in another place that Dad took care of with the horses, planted them with the horses, plowed them with the horses, and dug them with the horse. So we usually we raised some hellacious big tater crops, and I don't remember us having any sweet corn back then. We eat corn out of the field, but we did have the other things like the beans and the onions and the cabbage and stuff like that. And we had a few fruit trees back up behind the house, and I had a good childhood. I tell people quite often, and I taught a Sunday school class for a good little bit, and I have told them several times that I wouldn't change nothing about my childhood. I had a good one. I had good parents, and I wouldn't trade that for my childhood because if we were poor, I didn't know it till I got older, and I just had a good childhood.
Well, everybody was all the same out there. He didn't have a lot of conveniences, but nobody had them, so he didn't miss any of them. So I never felt like I lost anything being raised out there.
My mom had 11 kids, and never did she act like she didn't want us. Never said in her life, "I got too many kids." My dad never said, he never told us that he had to work all the time to support us, never mentioned it. Did he baby a lot? Not unless you were sick. But I had good parents, good. My mom was a religious person and very good.
I don't know if there's much different than everybody else, but at that time everybody was good workers. Everybody had a strong work ethic, and I think Dad was probably more conservative than most people, but Mom was real good. good woman, soft-hearted woman.
What kind of things did they teach you?
You know, it's kind of unusual because Dad and Mom never ever said anything about studying, and they never talked about going to school. They just kind of taught you about, I guess, right and wrong maybe, and working, but you learn most stuff by example instead of them telling you much.
Grandma always told me, said, if you act as good as you look, you'll be all right. Dad says, don't date no girls you don't want to cook breakfast table at.
That you don't want to what?
Huh?
That you don't want to what?
You want to cook breakfast table at.
Every night. Mom went out and worked in the garden, and me and Audrey done the dishes. And always when Mom would say, don't fool around, just do the dishes, but we fooled around. One time we made homemade ice cream. We went out and got some snow, and we cleaned everything up. And Mom said, have you girls been doing anything? No. She says, yeah, you have. You made ice cream. And me and Audrey, we looked and we could not figure it out. You know what it was? She smelt the dang vanilla that I'd put in the ice cream. And that's how she caught us.
Me and John were the last ones at home, and on a Saturday we would play pinochle, and the loser had to do a certain amount of chores on his set by himself. So we played serious, you know, to get out of work. But we did play games, and we played checkers some, and pinochle and dominoes. But they're good games. I think they make you think a little bit, and you learn a little something. When my kids were growing up, I'd play checkers and stuff with them, and I'd beat them. And Barbara, my wife, would say, "Don't do that all the time." I said, "Well, they got to learn sometime." I'd lay it on them if I could. I mean, I like to play games for the fun of it, but I play to win.
Shoot fire, it wasn't no dull moments, but I don't know what we done to have fun. We just kind of had fun, that's all. You know?
I was so far down at the end of the thing that all my older brothers and sisters is gone before I was ever remember them. I don't remember Ray ever being at home. Don't remember Whooper being at home. Or Myrene, Idabelle. I went to the house and visited them a lot and stayed all night with them quite a bit. So I was just kind of exposed to the last group. Probably, well, my older sister Faye, you know, she said she raised me. So I think that happened a lot.
Yeah.
The older kids just kind of took care of the younger, but there's so darn many of them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, somebody had, you know, passed something like that along.
Yeah.
I don't know how you did develop a tight relationship as a family, but I guess it's because you got together on holidays a lot and you ate a lot together, and so that's why I guess that's how you developed your bond, because I wasn't raised with them kids. So.
Mom always got, after we ran out of bacon and ham, by that time she had chickens. So she'd start killing chickens and fried chicken for breakfast. Can you beat that? Made gravy, had fried chicken. A lot of times she'd fry potatoes. She just worked all the time. And my mom had no easy food. It was all work.
Yeah.
All work food. But on Saturday night, they went to town and we got bologna. 2 pounds of bologna. And oh, I wanted my brothers to get their butts out and get gone, but they'd stay till they ate a sandwich too. And that 2 pound didn't go too far. It was all gone. And the other thing, we got cereal on Sunday morning. Well, I picked cornflakes because it was a big box. Had a whole bunch of cornflakes. So we had bought in cereal all the times on Sunday morning. And then we had bologna sandwiches on Saturday night. So that was our treats.
I think probably all children think their moms are good cooks, but I think Mama's a good cook. She made good biscuits, and I believe she's made some of the best yeast buns I ever eat. And they were like a treat to us. They were good. And Mama's a good cook. She seasoned stuff up well. She wasn't a fancy cook, I guess, by people's way things are, but she was a good cook. She could make a meal about anything, and she was good at it. And like I said, for breakfast, she'd usually fry up a pretty big plate of meat, and we'd have biscuits and gravy. It seemed like almost every day. And we was all hungry, and it all tasted good.
You know, she was a good cook, but I don't remember anything special. She always made biscuits and stuff. But, you know, I never did appreciate all the stuff that she had to do for that many kids. But she was a good cook. She had a lot of desserts. So she was a good cook.
What was the favorite she
Dad
made?
never cooked anything that I can remember.
Oh, really?
We never, you know, back then you didn't grill out any, and you didn't fry fish hardly ever. So Dad didn't have much of a part of the cooking.
Yeah, but I had good parents. I had good brothers and sisters, and I had a good life, a good life.
Dad and Mom both had false teeth, and when Dad would get right mad, his teeth would fall down. Boy wanted to laugh, but I was afraid to. But I guess if I thought very much, I could talk all day about Dad and Mom and the way we grew up. Like you said, we lived in an old house, and when the wind would blow, the nose would flop, and there'd be ice in the kitchen when you got up in the morning. But I don't regret it. Still don't.
One thing Hazel used to do when she stayed with us was I'd get her sugar-free cookies, and she wouldn't eat them. So I'd take all the cookies out of a regular package and put cookies in one that said sugar, and she'd eat every one of them. Or she would say, when we get through eating, like she'd come and get to where she'd stay, like she didn't come back every morning with Nanny out here. She'd stay with us, and so we'd eat dinner, and she'd say, "You better eat a good dinner, Danny, because you ain't getting no supper." And she'd be the first one to say, "Well, what are we having for supper?" His dad died on our first wedding anniversary. I was out here, and Danny was mowing in the bottoms, and he come home, and his dad had died, and he pulled him in the back seat of the car, and took him to Mary Irene's, and then him and Steve took him out of the funeral home. That wasn't a very good first anniversary, but it's one you always remember. And Hazel she come and stayed all night with us a lot. After he died, she didn't want to stay by herself. She was scared, and so when Danny would get ready to come home, he'd ask her, say, "You want to come home with me?" And she'd say, "Nope, I'm staying home tonight." But she usually came.
Yeah, she would. Like Barbara said, she'd say, "No, I'm staying home tonight." I'd turn around, she's getting in the truck.
Regathering with friends or something to that point. I can't remember exactly. So it made me think of reunion. It's not only important, I think, to our immediate family. It's important to those who are gone. It's important to God. And there's a certain amount of preparation for reunions. It seems like we kind of palm them off on the women. They do most of the preparing. I'm kind of glad of that. But then I think of the big reunion in the sky, you know, and we all have to make a preparation. It's a serious matter, and I just like to say, if everybody hasn't made the preparations, that I would sure urge you to do so.
Richard Dick Masterson died on August 28, 1967, of a heart attack in the Wabash River bottoms. Hazel Masterson died on May 26, 1971, of pneumonia, heart disease, and complications of sugar diabetes at Fairfield Memorial Hospital. They are both buried at East Antioch Missionary Baptist Church Cemetery in rural Burnt Prairie, Illinois. Dick and Hazel left a legacy of love and faith in God. I am sure if they could only see the results of that love that started 100 years ago, they would be well pleased. All of us that knew them were totally blessed. We should all be grateful that God made us a member of the Dick and Hazel Masterson family. As of July 2020, Dick and Hazel's descendants are as follows. They had 11 children, 28 grandchildren, 60 great-grandchildren, and 59 great-great-grandchildren. And the legacy continues on in the first member of the sixth generation, Dick and Hazel's great-great-great-grandson, Colson Dale Byers, born February 14th, 2020.